Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It's Sunday. So I got my coffee, right? And let's see here. December 17th. You last minute shoppers, you want to get your stuff ordered or you're not going to get it by Christmas. That's like I do today. I got to finish up my Christmas shopping. I've got a sister in law left, which is a quick online order directly to her house. I got all the little guys covered. I got all of my other sister-in-law and her kids covered. My Aunt Helen covered. So that just leaves the two older grandkids and then my kids and their significant others. Everybody else is done. Which is odd because I used to be one of those people, the last minute rush to, you're in the store the night before Christmas trying to get a bunch of stuff together. I don't do that anymore. My wife, when she used to do the Christmas shopping and stuff, she would start Christmas shopping the day after Christmas for the following year. And she'd get a lot of good deals because, the after Christmas, once you get through the returns that people don't like, etc., they got all this excess inventory, right? So that's when they start dropping the prices. And as long as it's not perishable, she would buy for everybody after Christmas. And by the time we get into, by Halloween, everybody was done, other than picking up, the boxes of chocolates and stuff like that. So if you don't have your orders in, girls, so if you don't have your shave, enough. So if you guys, Shavy, if you guys are trying to do some last minute things, some of the places to look, I'm not sponsoring anybody. Nuts.com. They have some good, cashews, but they also carry like the Swedish fish, the gummy bears, and that thing. And they're quick. They will ship anywhere in the U.S. for you. I like doing a lot of my Christmas shopping, honestly, through Amazon and eBay. I tend to lean more towards Amazon as I get closer because I'm looking for the Prime to get it here on time. And then today, like I said, I'm going to take a ride over to Walmart and pick up the last remaining stuff that I need for gifts, because I always give each of my kids and their family one of those great big boxes of chocolates. I don't even wrap them anymore because the kids know exactly what it is, right? All right, so today's session, we call it, I thought we'd do some Q&A, question and answers. Some of the questions that I've received over some time, and I thought, why not do it today? Today's Sunday, kind of a slow day. I worked in the woodlot most of the day yesterday. Claude did too, trying to get that project done. But one of the questions was asked to me of, what is the best chainsaw out there? And again, I have no sponsors. I'm going to tell you my personal take on things, and you take it from there. I like steel. I've had steel since I was 15 years old. But I've also run John Sureds, and they're a good saw. I've got some Husqvarnas, some of the biggers with the 20-inch bars on them, and they seem to hold up pretty good. And one of you guys had mentioned yesterday, which Thank you. Dolmar. I could have had the dealership for that if I wanted it, but the brand name, brand recognition isn't there in this area. You know, nobody knows what Dolmar is. So I kind of steered clear of it. Probably I should have grabbed it just to compete with everybody else, but I tend to go with things that I have less headaches with. It don't cost me an arm or leg to continually be fixing it, right? Kind of like my trucks, you know. I drive Fords. You know, Chevy makes a good one. I had the Z71 Blast. That was brand new. I bought it from a dealership. But other than that, they've always been Fords. And normally when I buy a truck, I buy it used, right? But my last two trucks I bought brand new. And I bought them brand new because I had built up enough equity in them to trade them in, you know. And my son was working for a Ford dealership. He could get what they call a D plan, which is a family plan, which is an additional discount off from the sticker price. So it made no sense not to buy new. With the equity that I had in the truck, plus the D plan, if I'm buying a used Ford from them, we don't get that D plan. Just strictly on brand new vehicles. See. But stepping back to the chainsaws, there's another thing that you need to factor in there, okay? Now, I buy the homeowners, which is the cheaper saws, okay? They're not beefy. You know, they're not made for logging, going into the woods and running it all day long, you know, 5 days a week or 6 days a week for some. So they make two grades of chainsaws. And one is the homeowner and one is the professional. And they're about twice in price for the same saw. But, you know, if you're in a tree company or you're a logger, or you're going to go for the Pro Series. The Pro Series are just heavier made. They're made for long run times and less issues. All right. As I mentioned in my prior video on the chainsaws, I'm updating about every 4 years, and I'm not updating all my saws at the same time. You know, I may have bought the MS-170 3 years ago, the MS-250 2 years ago. You know, so it figures out to be, you know, about 2 is the most saws, you know, in the same year. But I keep track of how much I use it. Like my Husqvarnas, they don't get pulled out as often, you know. And then I've got a professional grade steel, which is a limbing saw that I've had for a long, long time. You know, like I say, it's the Pro Series, so it's built to last. So that's been around for better than 10 years. My Husqvarnas have been around probably 8 years. And with the Husqvarnas, hey, enough. What it ended up being was, the reason I bought those is at the time, Tractor Supply was selling the Husqvarna, the Ranchers and that. And they're the homeowners series. If you go to Lowe's, Home Depot, Tractor Supply, those are all the homeowners series. They're not the Pro Series. The only way you're going to get a Pro Series is to go to an actual dealer. You know, that's what they do. They sell saws. They sell steels. They sell Husqvarnas. They sell John Surratt's, Dolmar. But what we ended up doing was, you know, early on in my business of small engine repair, I had to make a decision. Do I want to sell physical products? Push mowers, riders, chainsaws, you name it. I could have carried it. I still can. I can order anybody a brand new Cub Cadet, brand new Murray bush mower. Chainsaws are limited because I don't have a steel dealership. Um, but it's hard to compete anyways with big boxes. But one of the reasons that I opted not to was, one, I didn't want to be tied into that cost, because you're talking, for some floor plans, tens of thousands of dollars that you have to borrow. And used to be, if you were a dealership for, let's say, John Deere would supply a group, different ones, mowers, right? And you didn't have to pay anything until it sold. And I think after so many months, you had to start paying interest or something like that. But that was the most. But the John Deere still owned them, okay? But then they changed it over, so GE Finance got involved. And if you're doing floor planning, good chances are you have a GE Finance account. And that account means you own the stuff in that floor plan. They are yours. You need to sell, right? And if you don't sell, what you have left over coming into the following year is going to be compounded by what? More inventory that's going to be put onto your credit that you're going to have to pay on. And if you're not selling a lot of lawnmowers, riders, push mowers, or you're not selling a lot of saws for those companies or those brands, it can eat up all your profit in a hurry. And what I tell people, location. And there's enough, other shops in the area that are doing the floor planning that, adding one more doesn't make sense. So I made a deal with Tractor Supply to do the repair work. So I'm not going to compete with you. You're going to be my number one customer. So when you call me and you have something that needs to be fixed, we'll cover it. And we did that for 6 stores that Tractor Supply owned in our area, that we became kind of like their service center. And we get, everything from chainsaws to riding lawnmowers, you name it. And on some of the stuff, they opted to, instead of shipping it to us, they would just deep discount it and set it up front in the store just to get rid of it off their inventory. See, because the issue is if I go in and I buy a chainsaw from Tractor Supply, pay for it, and I leave that store, and I bring it back to that store because it's not running right, what have you, and that store opts to take that chainsaw back and give you a replacement, they can't sell the original saw as new because it's not. It's been out. And so now they're stuck with how much money do they want to put into it to have it fixed or repaired. And at the time, still at this time, like the Husqvarnas, we're not a warranty shop for Husqvarna, okay? But we were a service center for Tractor Supply. And what they were finding is if they sent the Husqvarnas out to a dealership for warranty, a lot of times it would be months later and they still hadn't been touched. So what they opted to do was just discount them. On the nicer looking ones, they would send them over to us just to see if we could get a quick fix and get them back, which most of them we did. But they would take the saw and they would put it out front, deep discount. Or they would give me a call and say, Eric, this is what I've got. I got to get it out of my inventory. You know, this is what we need. Can you do it? And I'll be honest with you, a lot of times I did it to help them out and then just sold it. You know, it was used to one of my customers. But that's how I came to get these two Husqvarnas. And they were brought back. I think one had carburetor issues. And the other one, they had seized it. They had put straight gas in it instead of putting in the 50-to-1 mix. The one with the carburetor, quick fix. I ordered whether it was a Zama carburetor kit. Kitted it. Called the store and said, you sure you want to sell it? Because I got it running now if you want it back. And all you're into it is for an hour's labor plus carb kit. And most times they say, no, we've already got it off the books. No. The other one had seized. And so Claude took a look at that one. We were going to just take and part it out, you know. And he said, I think I can get this unseized. And I think we can get it so that it will work. So I said, well, do whatever, you know. Within a half an hour, I heard the chainsaw running. I'm like, what'd you do, Claude? And he said, just a little bit of oil around it, just kept moving it. And got it freed up and put in some 50-to-1. He said, actually, I went a little richer than 50-to-1 just so I get everything lubricated up. And he said, with this saw, you know, we're going to do one or two things. Either we're going to use it as a part saw, or you're going to have to keep it there. Because, you know, knowing what we know that it got seized up, the likelihood that there could be more damage there's a possibility. And by knowing that, I didn't feel comfortable with selling it to somebody else. Now I'll tell you, that saw is 8 years old and it's still in my collection. And so isn't the other one. I said, you know what? My son, he's a big guy. And some of his buddies that like to come over and give me a hand, they're all good sized guys, young guys. So I give them those brutes to handle. And Claude and I'll stick with the small ones for the small stuff. So just so you understand, you know, there's a homeowner series and there's a pro series. You know, if you're going to buy a saw, whether it be a Stihl, Husqvarna, John Surratt, Dolmar is still a good one. I would recommend any of those. For what you pay for a pull-on, and if you're not going to use it that much, it's a good investment. And the one thing I haven't gotten into, but Claude has, is the battery-operated ones, like the trimming saws. And I'm letting him try out one right now that he bought. And I may end up buying one of those just to throw on my four-wheeler when I'm fixing fence. You know, you get a small limb across or brush you want to get out of the way so it's not touching the fence, because I use electric fence. That would be handy in my toolbox with my DeWalt's, which brings us to the next one. What are the handheld battery-operated equipment that you think is good? We've tried a couple different ones, I'll be honest with you. Even the ones that were no-name from China. And they just didn't hold up. You know, we've had for years the battery-operated drills and so forth. But the big leap was when we decided we wanted something 3/8 drive that we could use at the shop to tear apart and put back together a lot of equipment. So we ended up, I looked at reviews and stuff, and it come back that the one that we needed to try was the 20-volt DeWalt series. And the 20-volt DeWalt comes with 2 different size batteries. One is like for if you're doing roofing and stuff, and then the bigger battery is for like the 3/8 impact wrench. So we ended up going with a 20-volt DeWalt, and that thing has been phenomenal. I mean, the last one, the only reason it quit working is that it fell off a tractor into a bucket of hydraulic fluid, and we didn't notice it until the following morning. But I've still got that out here in my toolbox here at the house, in the garage. It still works, but it doesn't have the power output. You can see sparks come flying out the side of it. So I replaced it with a new one. And we've got that at the shop. And then I bought an additional one for the farm because on my disc mowers, it's a 3/4 nut. That bolt nut you have to take out, and then you throw the blade away and put the new one in, and it's so much easier with that because it just quick zip and you're done. And that stays in the tractor that does the mowing all summer long with 2 extra batteries, and then the replacement knives as well. So we have a lot of the 20-volt DeWalt series. Before we went to DeWalt, and I still got my set of Porta-Cable. You know, they're a good machine, but I haven't gone to the new series that they have out there, mainly because we've been so happy with the DeWalt. So, you know, let me know what you guys are having good luck with. Just because it works great for me doesn't mean something else is out there that could be as good, if not better, you know. I know that some of you guys probably Snap-on, you know, but I have to weigh the costs out, right? And my budget can't justify a Snap-on 3/8 impact versus a DeWalt, right? And you're going to spend some money. They're not cheap. But okay, so the other question is handheld equipment. You know, what do we run in the shop for tools? And my own toolbox, and most of my tools, granted, are from years ago, is the one that I have down to the shop is pretty much all Craftsman. And the one year that my wife wanted to get me a Christmas gift, and she wanted to know what I wanted, I said, I'd like to get a set of Craftsman tools, you know, that. So the tools that she bought me for Christmas, I still have, and I've added more to it since. And there for a while, I was buying off from eBay, you know, specialty tools for ignitions and all that were Craftsman. The bulk of the tools that are out there in the rolling cabinet that Claude uses are Harbor Freight. The bulk of the tools that are out in my garage here at the house are a mix of Harbor Freight and Walmart and Tractor Supply. And then the 2 cabinets you see in here are the same thing. Most of them are either Tractor Supply or like a Walmart or Harbor Freight. Again, no sponsors. Harbor Freight, you know, I've used them for years. I can remember back when I was farming it still with a dairy. And maybe, I think I've told this story before, but at that time it was strictly mail order. You get a catalog and you fill out all the SKU numbers, and then you sent that plus a check to them. And then 4 to 6 weeks later, you would get your tools, right? I remember the one set that I bought, and it was quarter, 3/8, and half-inch drive sockets, and ratchets and so forth. And when I got it, I think it was like either the 11/16 or the 3/4 in half-inch drive had a burr in it. Had a burr in it where it wouldn't go over the nut. So I called their customer service and I said, look, here's my issue. Can you guys send me just this socket to replace? So I've got a good working socket with that set. And they said, absolutely, we'll have it out within a couple of days. About a week and a half later, a huge box shows up. I'm like, what? With Harbor Freight. And I open up the box, and it's another complete set of quarter, 3/8, and half-inch. They didn't have to do that. All they had to do was just send me that socket. But they decided to just resend another set, and for me to keep the old set that is still brand new. So that gave me, 2 full sets other than the 11/16s, But now, there are Harbor Freight stores everywhere. Up in our area, we have one that's 13 miles away, 15 that direction. And then if you go that direction, you're talking like 30 miles. But you can still drive and get your tools that you want. So I'm going to wrap it up there. That's my reviews on, what tools we use in the shop, and a little bit about chainsaws, on why I choose those. So on that note, you guys have a great day, and thanks so much for watching.